Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show was recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, young, old, pretty, and pretty. I welcome you all, and a good afternoon to you all as well. This is Jake from Sports Talk. I am your host, Jake LaFleur, here on Lone Star Community Radio 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. Don't forget to follow the show on Facebook, like it, tag it, poke it, bink it, whatever they do on Facebook these days. Bink it, yeah, I don't know what that was. And follow it on YouTube, Google Play, iTunes. Make sure you subscribe, and that way every time you miss Jake, you can go back and visit him, and we can talk some sports together. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to have you all back in for my, I guess this is the 7th show now. Glad to get to lucky number 7. And a little quick talk before we get back into the normal routine of things, where we wrap up what's happened in the last week of sports and everything like that. I want to quickly touch on the Colin Kaepernick topic that we had last week. So, and the reason being is because I got a couple comments from listeners about what I said last week about Colin Kaepernick, and saying how disgraceful it was that I was supporting him, how they couldn't believe that, I was defending him. Right now, I just want to go ahead and say it. I just want to make it clear that I don't believe that his actions were okay for multiple reasons and under any circumstances, but he does have the right to peacefully protest all he wants. And now, with that said, the only part I was actually attacking anyone last week was my own group of people, journalists, those who actually write for these stories, or write these stories and put it out into the public. I attacked them for saying that he, being Colin Kaepernick, was being blackballed from the NFL by the NFL teams and everything like that. I just disagree with that statement. I don't believe the NFL is blackballing Colin Kaepernick. I think that's just a way that media members, beat writers, reporters of all sorts and likes out there in the journalism world, they use that, and they use that term specifically to rile up fans and fans of Colin Kaepernick, fans of the NFL, both sides of the party. And I get why they do it. I understand. In my opinion, that's poor journalism, poor journalistic abilities there. But I just want to make that clear. So now that we've got my little rant out of the way, I'm going to hop off my soapbox, and let's start the show right. As we do every week, in the first segment, we start with a sports update from the last week, and just going to go ahead and start out. Novak Djokovic has officially been announced that he will have surgery on his elbow, that he hurt during Wimbledon tournament. It did cause him to withdraw from the tournament, and it is going to probably cause him to miss the remainder of the tennis regular season, the TPA season, and he has already officially withdrawn from the U.S. Open, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, so no surprise there. Hugh Freeze making headlines this week. He has resigned after 5 years as the Ole Miss head football coach, following the news of him calling an escort service on company phone lines, and the way it all came out and it all played out, it was kind of funny. They basically gave the contradicting, or the conflicting interest information over to a journalist who was writing an article to praise Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze and all he has done to bring that program to where it is today in the past 5 years. And when he saw this phone number in the phone records, he searched it on Google, and it showed up as an escort service phone number, and led it with the story there and that, and then ultimately Hugh Freeze, with some other information that was kind of sketchy from his phone records, got released, ultimately led to the university firing him or forcing him to resign, essentially. So, next, Derrick Rose joins the Cavaliers. And that's it. That has no relevance towards the league or anything like that. It's a big name, being Derrick Rose and everything. But they signed him to a veteran minimum, which is huge, I guess, because they get, someone who was the league MVP for a vet minimum, who's only 26 years old. He's still really young, so I guess that's a positive there. But this move doesn't make them a better basketball team overall. It's not going to keep Kyrie Irving, which we will talk about in the second segment. It's not going to keep Kyrie Irving in Cleveland, and ultimately it's not going to make them better than the Warriors. It's not going to win them a championship next year, and thus LeBron James is still going to leave at the end of next season. So, no real significance coming there from that Derrick Rose signing. And then, lastly, everybody's favorite topic I guess it was last Wednesday, it was last Tuesday, the parole hearing for O.J. Simpson. And O.J., although he's not quite yet a free man, he's come out and he said that, he feels bad about what he did, but ultimately he still didn't do anything wrong in his parole hearing, and he still got out somehow. I guess the Nevada parole process does not care about feeling bad or showing remorse for the wrongdoing in which a criminal what do you call those things? An inmate showing any sort of remorse for what he did. That goes into no part. They don't take that into consideration and everything. So he served 9 years of a 33-year sentence for armed robbery and kidnapping in Las Vegas, and then he's expected to be released in early October. So glad to hear him get out, I guess. I'm really indifferent. He's 70 years old now, so it doesn't really matter. He's probably, just due to the life that he's lived, isn't going to live too much longer with his NFL and, drug usage in his younger years, everything like that. I just don't see him lasting very long past his 70s, or into his 70s. So it's not... yes, everybody's been up in arms about him getting out after 9 years for a 33-year sentence, when in reality he really didn't have a gun in that situation. Everybody else that was involved in that crime actually didn't serve any jail time. A lot of them served, they had house arrest and various other things like that, but OJ was the only one who actually served any jail time, and they were definitely punishing him for the double murder that he was never actually convicted of, but nonetheless... everybody's up in arms, and they're saying that he should have had to have served the full 33-year sentence just based on that. But, in reality, if you're looking at this case, in this case alone, and you're singling it out, I have no problem with him getting released after 9 years. In reality, again, he's not going to serve, he's not a threat to society at 70 years old. He does plan, however, to go to Florida, back to Florida, go try to reconnect with his kids and everything like that. I highly doubt... well, I shouldn't say I highly doubt. I think it's going to be a hard process for him to get that approval. I'm not a lawyer or anything like that. I don't know law all that well, but I can't imagine them being very lenient in this sort of process with him. So, next news, and we're going to get into and we're going to invite in our station manager, the wonderful Dick Schishler. If you want to listen to Dick, he has a morning talk show here, or not talk show, but a morning music show here at Lone Star Community Radio. And it's called Mornings with Lone Star, and he also has his own talk show, which is on Thursdays at noon to 1, right? That's what, yeah, okay. So from noon to 1.
Noon o'clock.
Noon o'clock, that's right. From noon to 1. It's called The Ticket Stub. I am a stubby, and I love talking movies with those guys. They're wonderful. But here on Jake from Sports Talk, he is our resident soccer expert.
Yeah. I do enjoy watching lots and lots of soccer. So.
I can't watch lots and lots. I can watch lots and lots of baseball.
You just have to give it a try. And what it is, it requires you, Jake, to wake up past noon on Saturdays and Sundays. So
I can't.
A lot of people who watch football can't wake up past noon. Because that's when football starts.
Yeah.
So this is what's perfect is now you can watch another sport before football called soccer, and it's on the weekends, and then it's also weekly sometimes during the day. This is European soccer I'm talking about, or international soccer.
International soccer, yeah.
But MLS is still going on. We talked about the Dynamo last time, and
Yeah.
they're playing strong.
How are they doing this year?
They're doing so far. A couple of their teammates are gone on international, especially with this Gold Cup coming to an end.
Yeah.
Their main striker, Cuba Torres, will be coming back. Hopefully he is not injured. He had a really bad tackle on another player. He got a yellow card. I think it was like in the first 10 minutes, and people from Mexico are really mad at him. That's for sure. So we welcome him back, open arms. With the Gold Cup wrapping up tonight, I encourage everybody to watch the game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jamaica and the United States play at 8:30 Central Time. I believe that will be on Fox Sports 1, probably like that.
I think it's FS1.
And you can probably stream it on Fox Sports Go, which I'm probably going to end up doing. But it's going to be a really exciting game. Jamaica is highly paced, as you can imagine. And U.S. is really still figuring out their strategies. So you're going to see a lot of messy soccer, see a lot of counter soccer, meaning when the U.S. messes up, Jamaica's going to get the ball down as fast as possible. They're very fast, but they're not very technical. So it's going to be a really interesting game to watch U.S. play Jamaica.
It's going to be kind of like watching a college football game rather than a professional football game, where it's a little more sloppy, but it's also kind of more entertaining at times. Would you say?
Yes, I think what's funny is this is a repeat. I think Jamaica played USA a couple never mind, I take that back. That was a semifinal. They played at the semifinal. Jamaica beat the United States 2-1 in 2015. And so this is kind of like the rematch.
The rematch.
They're talking about it, and I would say like the comparison to college, yes and no, because these teams are smaller than the bigger teams.
Yeah.
On the FIFA rankings, the technical abilities between both are not very good. So,
how can they call it a rematch if this has been 3-4 years removed now?
Well, it's a rematch because they're in the same tournament.
Well, same tournament, but
because the chances of these teams meeting, it's really some teams have played one other international team one time ever. But not here because the Gold Cup. There's only eight
if there's that much of a gap, and I mean, how many of the same players are still there? You know, is it really a traditional rematch?
Well, Clint Dempsey was at both of them, so how's that?
Well, and I guess Tim Howard probably was too. So
actually, I think there's a lot of people who are still there. But I can't answer that question right now because I don't have the rosters in front of me. But it should be a good game nonetheless.
Well, so U.S. won 2-0 over
Costa Rica.
And what did you see?
I was very surprised. Costa Rica is a very good team. If you remember from the last World Cup, they did really well.
So I mean, our defense looked terrible in that first.
Oh, our defense always looks terrible.
So do you credit Tim Howard just excellent goalkeeping for shutting them out?
I am very interested to see the lineup today. We do have a lot of youngsters and newcomers to the international stage for the United States, but we also noticed Clint Dempsey showed up halfway through the tournament, which is really cool.
They brought him in off the bench in the last game. So, do you think they'll do that again this game, or do you think they'll start him?
I'd start him. I mean, he knows how to play soccer in a sense of the international stage. He's been around for a while. He's very competitive. The unfortunate thing about both teams is most of their starters aren't there. So it's not gonna. That's what I was saying. The technical ability might not be there. Jamaica doesn't have a lot of their starters either. So it should be an enjoyable game for just the sake of chaos and. For the average watcher who watches, say, a couple Gold World Cup games, this game's not going to be very exciting.
Well,
because they don't really know, it just looks sloppy to you. It's kind of like watching minor league hockey.
But for the untrained eye, sloppy is not necessarily bad, though, right? Because we don't. If I watch a soccer game, I don't know formations and strategy as much as say you do, and so therefore.
Well, when I say sloppy, I mean how they're going to score the goals. The goal's going to come from a corner, or someone messes up, and it's never going to be one of those really great wonder strikes.
Yeah.
Where someone just kicks it from 30 yards out and boom, goal. I don't know. I'll be happy if that happens, but it doesn't happen regularly in soccer. But on the higher end stage, it does because those players are that good.
Yeah, because they got more talent, more skill.
But it'd be cool to see those kind of goals. And a lot of people who watch a lot of soccer see a lot of those goals every weekend. They watch a lot. But it's similar to football. There's only one or two wonder plays every
weekend.
Every match day.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like.
Not match day.
What do they call it? Game day?
Game day.
All right. But
he is American. I promise. He was born in Texas. I don't know where his lingo comes from, but we'll forgive him here because he knows a lot about soccer, and I appreciate it. So looking back at the Jamaica-Mexico game, That was a huge shocker. Everybody in the soccer world was just stunned by that.
Well, Mexico's pissed.
Well, and
their fans are really passionate.
Rightfully
so. It's great.
So. I mean,
it was their B squad. So, I mean, it's kind of like, it's one of those things where they didn't take it serious enough. It's one of those things where how important is the Gold Cup to each team?
Correct.
It's important to Jamaica.
Because this is something they can actually win.
Yeah, they're in the final. This is a big deal to smaller countries. And unfortunately, like I said on the last show, if you check out the last podcast of the show, I was saying how the United States is used to winning. And so we watch these sports and we're like, why aren't we good at soccer?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're just not that good at soccer. We're getting better.
Well, I think our commitment as a society as a whole to soccer is, that's down the pecking order, right? Football is number one,
yeah.
right? And so it's just the importance.
Well, it's development. Soccer really is heavy on development. If you look at the way the other countries handle it, people are starting when they're 7 years old.
Yeah.
And they're getting shipped off to academies across the world. And people, especially in the United States, there's a few people that get shipped off because it's so easy to find other better kids in South America.
Yeah.
And
that probably have played longer as well, because we don't start them out like we've got Pop Warner football here in Texas at 4 years old. We don't. I don't know how many soccer leagues around here that are that intense and that devout to the soccer life.
But I would say in 20, 30 years, soccer is probably going to be the stronger sport here at international level, just because it's year round.
Yeah,
and it's not hockey. It's not every 2 years or every 4 years for the Olympics. And so it's going to be one of those things that's a constant patriotic event that you're going to support this. And I think that's going to be more because look at the women's soccer league. Well, I mean, it's successful in a sense of like what they're they're achieving their goals.
Yeah.
And numbers, and then also the team itself is doing really well every year consistently.
And I think the women's international program draws more of a stronger fan base than the men's do. So, but all right. So prediction for tonight?
It's a wild card.
A wild card. So no.
If I had to put I can't say put money on it, can I? I would hope for a 2-0 US.
You would hope for that?
Yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, okay. But you're predicting a win, nonetheless? Yeah. All right, there we go.
Or, of course, we go for 120 minutes, nothing, and then everyone hates soccer because no one scores anything. But at least there's going to be penalties. So, folks, still watch this 8:30.
A lot of red cards.
There's going to be an end game. It goes to penalties tonight, so it's not one of those games that ends in 0-0. Because a lot of people don't get that.
No.
I respect it, but...
That's funny. Well, speaking, too, of the ridiculousness of how much we focus on football, especially here in Texas and in the South in general, there was an 8th grader this weekend that verbally commit in football to a college.
Are they fully developed?
No. But he's a 6 foot, I think it was 6'2",
8th
6'3".
grade? He's 6'3"?
And he weighed like 280. It was this monstrous 8th grade kid. And he's committed, he's verbally committed, right? So he can't sign anything, legal document.
Do they do any testing on him?
I don't know. Probably not.
Someone lying about his age? I mean, it sounds like someone's lying about his age.
or his size or weight or something.
Yeah.
But I saw a picture of this kid, and he looked facially, from his maturity standpoint, he looked like he was an 8th grader. But body-wise, no, he looked like a 30-year-old man. So, but...
Well, you know what? I know we have a couple of minutes. Sorry to... One soccer news story I want to tell everybody that was kind of exciting. The idea is a company came to the MLS and offered $4 billion over, I think it was a 30-year deal, basically saying for rights, TV rights. And then what it was for, the trade-off is they were going to do a relegation system. Sorry. So
meaning,
well, in Europe, there's different tiers, and so to give you an idea of it, like let's say the league has League One, and then there's a League Two. And there's 20 teams in League One, 20 teams in League Two.
Is that where you the bottom 4 go down to League Two?
Yeah, the bottom 4 of the League One go down to League Two, and then the top 4, 2, or 3, whatever way you want to set it up, of League Two go into League One.
Okay.
And so a company came and offered that money to them. And
to the MLS organization.
To the MLS. It's like, hey, because we don't have that. We actually do have a pyramid system where we do have the National Soccer League, and then we have the United Soccer League, but they don't move around.
Okay.
They stay in their league. The only thing they compete in is the Calder's Cup. I think that's what it's called. It's like the U.S. Open, but for all the soccer teams, basically. But what's nice is the comment made from one of the commissioners Basically, the MLS is like, this is something that we've always been talking about, but the money doesn't make sense over a long, because they have to commit to a contract that they can't implement until for 6 more years because they're already in a contract with the current TV rights.
So why can't the MLS just do this on their own? Why do they have to have a third party come in and buy them?
Well, if you look at it as a business, the MLS is still in an investment stage. They're still they're doing expansion teams, and you don't want to throw that on prospective expansion teams saying, oh, by the way, once you join, there's a chance you won't be in this league next year, and you will probably make like a fourth of what you made this year. And that's kind of the funny money-wise. It's really interesting if you're looking at the Premier League, which is the English league.
Yeah.
They even touted it where if you get promoted, it's $100 million game. Because
for that one season?
If they get promoted to the Premier League.
Wow.
Because how much TV rights are for now? Because the Premier League is the biggest league money-wise.
Yeah. So league-wise, they pay him by year, right? Because what if you're in the bottom 4 and you get moved down?
They get balloon payments, basically.
Wow.
So if it's important as an owner, and that's why so many foreign people are buying teams over there, is because because it's funny because they do the relegation battle. Sometimes it comes down to one game, and everybody knows it's this one game.
It's $100 million
and
game.
They call it the $100 million game, and it's like it's a big deal. It's a lot of fun when you know that's behind it. But MLS, that's actually why the MLS is similar to the NFL in regards of how they protect their owners to every degree, because they don't want to fail like the previous in the 80s. That soccer system failed horribly, and they don't want to do that. They want everyone to make some money, not a lot of money, but eventually they hope to get it to the NFL level.
The NFL level, yeah. I was gonna say.
Which is very possible because of the international presence soccer already has. That's the one thing NFL lacks, is the international presence.
And they're trying their hardest.
I mean, my opinion is soccer's already going to be there because it's the cheapest sport to really get involved in.
Yeah.
But outside the United States, I think football really has a great place here. I'm actually worried about football, if anything.
Well,
just because of the developments of people don't want their kids to play football. And the stigma, especially that CTE. I think, are you going to talk about that at all today?
Not today. We'll get back to that. But I did want to, watch this connection here.
All right.
Speaking of the English Premier League, and the owners of it, who's a part owner of Everton? LeBron James is a part owner of Everton. And when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about LeBron James and the Kyrie Irving soap opera that is currently going on. So stay tuned. Don't change. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back here on Lone Star Community Radio. You are listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
Hey guys, I'm Joey Savage.
Corey DLG.
We are Nerd Thug Radio. Catch us every Monday from 1 to 3 and check out our website, nerdthugradio.com.
We like to talk about quilting, horseback riding, and baking quiche.
Actually, we don't, but we do like talking nerdy to you.
That's right. Every Monday from 1 to 3 p.m., hashtag talking nerdy to you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Jake from Sports Talk here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. I am your host, Jake LaFleur. Hey, we got Austin engineering our show today. Hey, Austin, can you turn my music back up real quick? So I had a fan write in, and they said, I didn't like your song when you first started the show, but dang it, Jake from Sports Talk, I like it now. So it's what's it called, Austin? United We Groove? It's a great song. Thanks, Austin. I appreciate it. Welcome back. Yes, you are listening to Jake from Sports Talk, and I am your host, Jake LaFleur. Glad to have you back here. As I teased before the break, we are going to talk about what I am deeming the young and restless NBA style. I didn't really know any popular soap ops but I went and Googled them, and yeah, The Young and Restless. I forgot about that. That's a common soap opera, and that is exactly what we are seeing here in Cleveland, Ohio, with the Kyrie Irving and LeBron James nonsense situation going on. It's really a nightmare, and it's growing and it's building literally by the day. It came out about 2 weeks ago almost 2 weeks now, that Kyrie Irving he had not demanded, but he had suggested that he wanted to be traded away from the Cavaliers to 4 teams: the Knicks, the Spurs, Timberwolves, and the Heat. And he has interest for various reasons, but he said that his main reason for wanting to get out of Cleveland was he wanted to get out from under LeBron James. He thinks that he is matured enough as a person and as a player to be on his own team. And they had this under wraps and everything like that, and this has actually been going on for for a month to a month and a half. But it came out 2 weeks ago that he had demanded the trade, and Kyrie Irving made a statement saying that, I believe LeBron James was the one who actually leaked this information. Now, LeBron didn't really care for that very much, and he has since made a few comments on Twitter and various other platforms. Nothing outlandish or rude or, terrible or anything like that. But what has stirred the pot even further is that 2 days ago, Stephen A. Smith, a reporter for ESPN, was reporting that allegedly from someone within LeBron James' camp told him that if LeBron was in front of Kyrie Irving right now at this moment, he would have to be restrained from kicking his butt, to put it into frame. So this is just blown out of proportion. The whole situation in which LeBron, as much of a superstar as he actually is, how quickly his ego will get offended, because he responded to Stephen A. Smith's comment saying, hey, this is not, factual, check your sources. And whether or not LeBron said that at all, it has no relevance in this situation. It's just the idea that, two players who have shared now 4 years together, 3 years together, they've been to 3 NBA finals, they've won 1 NBA final, and they have so much animosity towards each other, yet here is all of these other players from the Cavaliers and from other teams saying, basically they're siding on the side of Kyrie Irving and not LeBron James. And I think that's the interesting part of all this, is that LeBron gets such I'm a player advocate rep, and I try so hard to please my teammates and my fellow NBA players, as though they're brothers in war against the league and everything like that. And he does. He does a great deal of work in that area, but I don't think we see as fans how hard it is to actually play alongside LeBron James. He can be such a demanding figure and such I don't even know how to correctly put it without ultimately just tearing him a new one. He is that boss that you respect because they're a really good boss and they know what they're doing, yet you really don't like them as a person because they're kind of a jerk. And I'm looking at my boss as I say this, but I don't mean it that way about you, Dick, I promise. But that's my 2 cents on it. I don't want to harp about it and on this subject too long, just because it's so stupid. It's so childish, and it truly is a soap opera, and it's why I will never watch soap operas, because they're stupid and childish. But my biggest topic today is the NFL, and I want to get into the NFL. I want to dive into the NFL. We're going to talk leagues, teams, everything. When we come back from this break, I'm going to tell you who's going to win each division and who's going to make the playoffs this upcoming 2017-2018 football season. So stay tuned here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. This is Jake from Sports Talk. Stay tuned.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Attention movie lovers, The Ticket Stub is a new radio show servicing Montgomery County that is meant for you. The Ticket Stub is available live every Thursday at noon on FM 104.5 and 106.1, as well as anytime on irlonestar.com. Connor and Dick will let you know what's coming out in the theater, what is worth streaming, and what's going on in the world of film. The Ticket Stub, your home for movie talk.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jake from Sports Talk. I am your host, Jake LaFleur, here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. Don't forget to like the show on Facebook. And as I said, bink it, enjoy it. Make sure you follow and you subscribe, not just on Facebook, but also on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play. And that way, if you subscribe to those, every time, even if you can't listen to a show live, you can tune in, and as soon as it's posted up online by our wonderful engineers here, and I say wonderful because I am one of those engineers here, we post up all the shows, and as soon as we post up the shows, you'll be notified and you can listen. So that way you never have to miss an episode of Jake from Sports Talk. You can always hear my wonderful, beautiful voice as it rambles on and on and on. So, and in addition to all that, check out Lone Star Community Radio, irlonestar.com. Look at all the different shows we have. Just outside of the Ticket Stub on Thursdays, we've got the Cindy Cochran Show and other shows like that are just wonderful entertainment and always bring a smile to my face. I enjoy working those shows as well from the engineering side. So yes, irlonestar.com. Check it out. Lots of wonderful things there. So as I mentioned before the break, I've got my big topic of the day is the NFL and divisional talk and actual matchups and what's actually going to take place this season. I really actually had planned to do this last week, but we got caught up in the Colin Kaepernick topic, and so I had to push it back a week. But that's okay. The talk was good. The content was good last week, so that's good to go. Training camps are starting this week for all teams, rookie camps, regular camps, everything along those lines. And we are actually a week and a day away. I can't believe it. August 3rd is the first NFL preseason game. That's next Thursday. It's the Hall of Fame game they do every year in Canton, Ohio. They take the 2 or 3 individuals that are being inducted, and they have one or two of their teams playing in that game. This year's Canton, Ohio Hall of Fame game is going to be between the Cowboys and the Cardinals. So now preseason is kind of a wishy-washy sort of situation, especially this first one, the Cowboys and Cardinals. They'll play their, as they always do, they'll play their starters in the first half and then let their newbies get in there in the second half. And then as we, get further in along with the preseason games, the starters play less and less and less. And they become essentially meaningless for us true fans that know that they're meaningless. But the more important factor in them is they help fill out the 53-man roster overall. So it's exciting just because we know we're getting closer to the football season. I think we're actually 6 weeks away, I think, officially from this upcoming weekend. We're 6 weeks away. So with the start of all this football, it's time to make some predictions for the regular season. So breaking it down division by division. So we're going to start out, I'll go through the AFC first, and then we'll do the NFC. And at the end of it all, I'll tell you, basically who I think ranking-wise, 1 through 4, is going to win each division, and then who's going to make the playoffs, including the wild card teams. Now, I do all of this, and I really don't like to do all of this, but I do all this for the fans and for the listeners out there. But the reason why I don't like to do this is because predicting anything in this life is hard. Life is too hard to predict, whether it's sports or car accidents or whatever. It doesn't matter. Life is challenging, and so it's hard to predict things. And in sports, it's even harder because in football, you've got a 53-man roster. You don't know who's going to be healthy the entirety of the year. You don't know if the coach is going to be healthy the entirety of the year. I mean, we've had multiple coaches go out over the last couple of years, mid-season. So it's very hard to predict. And the reason why I don't like doing them outside of that is because when I'm wrong, then it leaves it open for you fans to, bash me for it. But nonetheless, I'm serving myself up on a platter. So when it comes to week, 4 or 5, and you're like, well, the Texans aren't in first place like you said. Well, you know what? Whatever. Forget you. So, AFC, starting out, AFC North. Steelers, I've got winning that division, followed by the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns. The Browns, of course, are not going to be good, and there's no shocker there. They do have Osweiler from the Texans this year, but we all know, as Texans fans, and as Broncos fans out there, that this is not going to be a positive reaction or a positive outcome for the Browns. It's not going to boost them higher. The Ravens are just too old. They haven't gone through enough of the rebuilding process to get enough young blood in there. Joe Flacco is still a very good quarterback. No complaints there. But I don't see that defense being healthy for the entirety of a season enough to win that division. The Bengals, I think, actually are going to make the playoffs in a wild card spot. But I don't think they're going to have enough to basically to take over that Steelers offense. That Steelers offense is going to be very good. I know Big Ben's old, but they've got so many weapons around him that he doesn't need, and they've upgraded their offensive line. He won't take as much hits. He won't take as many hits this year, and he won't have to use, or rely on his legs as much as he has in the past. All right, moving on to the West. I think you've got the Raiders taking this division. I think Carr comes back from that lower leg injury, healthy, 100%, ready to go. And I think they actually have, I think they give the Patriots a run for their money in the AFC as far as the best record goes. I got the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs all there in that order. But I don't think any of them have the ability to really challenge the Raiders or challenge any of the rest of the AFC. And I think that Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback that was drafted by the Chiefs this year out of Texas Tech, I think you're going to see him get a start this year, and I think they're going to bench Alex Smith just so that I don't see their record being good enough to support keeping Alex Smith in there, and they want to see what the future is. I think they bring in Mahomes, and Mahomes got a really good chance of being the next Brett Favre. He's got that build, he's got that mindset, the gunslinger mindset, and I think the future for him is bright, but this year, overall, I think the Chiefs are going to be down. I think the Broncos are going to be down. They did bring Gary Kubiak in as a front office consultant, which I thought was interesting. But that has no play on that has no effect on the play on the field. And then the Chargers, you're not going to have. They're going to be down by 6 points with 2 minutes to go and have to score a touchdown like they do every year, or every game. So they're kind of irrelevant. They're a good team, but they're irrelevant. Now to the East, Patriots obviously are going to win that division. I don't think they're going to be contested in that division. The Dolphins with Tannehill will be better, but I don't think they're going to be any better than what they were last year. And then the Bills and the Jets are the laughing stock of that, and the Browns are the laughing stock of the AFC. So I think it's safe to say that the Patriots have another division championship ahead of their, to put on their resume. And I think this year will actually give Belichick the most division championships out of any head coach in the history of the NFL. So that'll be interesting. Now on to the South, and for all my FM listeners here in Texas, here in the Montgomery County area, I know this is the big one you want to hear about. I do have the Texans winning this division, so yay. But and I got the Titans following them. I think Mariota comes back healthy. They've upgraded their offensive line. I don't think he'll have to scramble and run as much as he did last year. I think their coaching staff is going to use him in a wiser way. Jags fans, you'll be happy to hear this as well. I don't have you finishing last in this division. I have it going Texans, Titans, Jags, Colts. I think the Jaguars have done enough this offseason from the draft and picking up free agents and bringing in their old coach, Tom Coughlin. He's not coaching. He's in there as operations for operational purposes. But I think that the Jags will improve enough, and I think you're going to see them finish above 500 this year. But I don't think, or maybe right at 500. But I don't think it's going to be enough to get them into the playoffs, where I have the playoff seedings in this order. I think the Patriots still have the best record in the AFC. I think the Raiders contest them for that, and they push them close enough to, to where it'll be a tight race. And then I have the Texans right there around the 10-win marker, Steelers around the 10-win marker as well. And then the playoff teams, or the wild card teams I have, are coming out of the North with the Bengals and out of the South with the Titans. I think the Titans have enough offensive weapons, and their defense have gotten better to where they clinched that final playoff spot. But it'll be right around the 9-8 or 9-7 sort of record. So now onto the NFC, starting in the North, Green Bay. I don't see them getting dethroned this year. Detroit has gotten better. Vikings have gotten better. Well, I don't know. Vikings haven't gotten better. Vikings have gotten worse. Therefore, they're going to be worse than what they were last year. But they're still not going to be a bad team. They're still going to be a threat when when any team faces them on any given Sunday. And then the Bears, the Bears are a joke. So there's no point in even mentioning them. Going on over to the South, the note in the South: a different team has won this division for the past 11 years. That streak gets broken this year. I think the Falcons return. I think they feel hungry after that terrible defeat in last year's Super Bowl to the Patriots, blowing that lead. And I think you're going to see the Falcons win this division, followed by the Buccaneers. I think Jameis Winston and that offense, now that they've had they were a very young team last year. Now that they've had a full year together, full off season together, and everything like that, I think that they put it together enough in the offensive side of things to actually make the playoffs. I think they're going to take one of the wild card positions this year. But I got Falcons, Buccaneers. You Aints fans out there, I hate to break it to you, Adrian Peterson is not going to be that much of a help to you on the offensive side of the ball, and your defense is still just god-awful, and it's terrible. But, and Panthers fans, I know you're not going to like this, but, I'm sorry. I think the old Cam recipe has been figured out, and I think defenses know enough of how to stop that offense. And the defensive side of the ball, I know you got Luke Kuechly and all that stuff with a big white boy in the middle, leading your defense. I don't think your team is that good this year, and I think you're going to finish last in that division. So now over to the West. The Seahawks, the big offseason fiasco, and it's another soap opera sort of situation between Russell Wilson and Richard Sherman. The fact that Sherman came out and said, "Yeah, we're work buddies," rather than actual friends, and everybody's running with that story because it's summertime and they need something to talk about other than baseball. So they're harping in on this and they're making this a much bigger deal than it actually is. Of course they're not friends. They're on two different sides of the ball. They have admiration for one another, but they don't have a personal relationship. I mean, come on. You can't expect everybody on a 53-man roster to be friends with everybody else. It's just not going to happen in reality. Now, most likely, do they hate each other? No, I wouldn't go that far. They don't hate each other, but they're not going to hang out. They're not boys. They're not going to go see a movie. And most of the time, linemen hang out with linemen. And, defensive backs hang out with defensive backs. Linebackers hang out with linebackers. It's how it goes. It's the locker rooms are very position segregated, and that's always been the way the mindset is. And it's because you have something in common with those people, right? So it's not that big of a deal. But despite all of that, and to show how unimportant that actually is, the Seahawks, I think, do win the West, followed by the Cardinals and the 49ers and the Rams. That was the easiest division to pick out of all of these. The Seahawks are clearly better than the Cardinals, 49ers, and Rams, The Cardinals are okay. They'll be right around the 500 marker again this year. 49ers and Rams, I don't think will combine for more than 3 wins. So that's my pick there. And then out of the East, this is the division I care about most. Giants and Cowboys and Eagles and Redskins. Now, Cowboys fans, I know we're in Texas. I know you're like, how can you pick the Giants over us? That makes absolutely no sense. Guys, look, the offensive firepower that the Giants have picked up over this offseason, what Ben McAdoo has put in place on the offensive side of the ball, it's too hard to say, because the Cowboys' defense just isn't strong enough for me to say, okay, the Cowboys can overcome the Giants, and they can actually win it. So, but no, I've got to stick with my pick there. The Cowboys offensively, we'll see how Dak does. We'll see if he has a sophomore slump. I think the offensive line there is still good enough to where, it's going to keep things in check, and I think they're still going to be a very good team. So out of the NFC, the way I've got it going, I got the Green Bay Packers with the best record, just due to who they played, divisionally. I got the Falcons with the coming in second. I got the Seahawks coming in third. Again, just based on who they played divisionally. I got Giants fourth. Cowboys taking that first wild card position. And then Buccaneers, I think, have the opportunity and the chance to take that final wild card spot. If it's not them, it'll be the Cardinals. But it'll be one of those two. It'll be a tight race there at the end. And I'm now checking the clock here. We're at 50 almost. 149 right now. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and keep rolling in. While we're talking about the Cowboys and everything we got going on in this situation, Lucky Whitehead, it's not a good day to have the first name Lucky. So I've got a few clips here that I want to show you guys about what has basically been going on in his life for the last week. So we're going to throw it up here. We're going to try out the new HDMI system that we've had going on. And so you can watch it on YouTube. And when you watch it on YouTube, you can have you can actually see the clips that I'm playing. But for those who are listening on radio right now, we've got a Fox 4 News broadcast that's going on this week, or from last week, with the Lucky Whitehead news about his dog.
He is being held for ransom.
Addison police are investigating after his dog Blitz was taken from his Addison home. And then he started getting some bizarre phone calls from a blocked number. Fox 4's Allison Harris is in studio tonight with the details. Allison.
Stephen, Heather, he's had this puppy for less than 2 months, but he says he spent a lot of his off-season with him, taking him to the lake and just watching him grow. Lucky Whitehead is convinced this is happening to him because he's a Dallas Cowboy, and whoever stole him is messing with his head. Dallas Cowboys fans might say wide receiver Lucky Whitehead has superpowers. And apparently so does his American Bully puppy, Blitz.
Hey, man, where you going?
Whitehead had Blitz repping Batman, Superman, and, of course, the Cowboys. But now he says Blitz is being held for ransom because he plays for America's team.
But it's just, sickening. I know the dog's confused. It's killing me just because I wasn't there to protect him.
Whitehead.
Yeah, so that's Whitehead's clip from last week from Fox 4. Credit them there. His dog is being held for ransom. So that's how the beginning of last week started out for Lucky Whitehead there. Then we go on over to this video from crediting ESPN here on this one.
Virginia authorities said today that the former Cowboys receiver was not the man they arrested and charged with shoplifting last month. That man identified himself as Whitehead and provided his date of birth and even his social security number, but did not have official identification on him. Whitehead was released by the Cowboys yesterday after news broke of the arrest. Team exec Stephen Jones said then that the release was the culmination of a number of incidents over the past year. The Cowboys have not yet commented on the news today.
So he gets his dog stolen and while he's on vacation and held for ransom, and then he gets misidentified by somebody who has his date of birth and social security numbers memorized, and ultimately the Cowboys release him from the team. And now here we have Jerry Jones talking about the incident overall, about him being cut.
I'm not going to specifically go about any player, but I am going to say this is business as usual, and I really won't go into my parameters about why a player is here or not. And it can be different than other people in our personnel department or what have you. So I'm not going into any of that. Not going to go into anything about Lucky. But I am going to say, if we're going to get wadded up over people coming and going around here, then get ready to stay in an ace, because we're going to have...
So there's Jerry talking about, basically saying, I don't care anything about why he's here, and we don't want to talk about it. And that was him at training camp in Oxnard, California. But man, what a bad week to be Lucky Whitehead, to have the first name, or to have the name Lucky. That's not very lucky. I mean, he's not that great of a player, to be completely honest, but he's a great special teams player, and in that sense. So, but it's just so funny that your dog gets held for ransom. Somebody uses your identity to get when they get arrested, and ultimately it gets you cut from the team. And then you've got your owner of, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, coming out and saying, oh, yeah, look, sorry, we're not going to talk about this, but, I'm not going to discuss why a player is, here or not here or anything like that. But, and then to add a little cherry on top of this, Jerry Jones goes into a press conference earlier this week, 2 days ago, saying that, he's defending his running back, Ezekiel Elliott, who has a domestic violence allegation on him, and he's still at training camp right now. He's still playing, and yet here we are with a guy who was misidentified and wrongly accused being sent home. So we see where Jerry Jones's priorities and his mindset lies. So, all right, guys, we're going to have to go ahead and close it out here. Man, this hour went by fast. But I want to thank you all for listening to Jake from Sports Talk. I am the host of this wonderful circus that I call a Sports Talk show, Jake LaFleur, here on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5, 106.1, and worldwide on irlonestar.com. Don't forget to subscribe, like, Bink, Facebook, YouTube, Google Play, iTunes, everything. Find me on all the social medias. Subscribe to them all. And that way, you never have to miss this beautiful voice and this awesome song. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you next Wednesday from 1 to 2.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show was recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.